Okay, yeah. So those were actually three questions I thought of asking. So I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much. And Tejas, why do you think it's important to have, a connect with the budding developers or who are, coming new as a profession? So is it really important for people, let's say 8+ years of experience, to have a connect and make a rapport, build a rapport around them? And how will that help experts in the industry already?
So one thing we need to understand is if a person is having, like what you said, 8+ or 10+ or whatever years of experience, then having a connect with juniors or beginners doesn't make real sense. Yeah. If they are only thinking about their own career or own growth. Now, it only makes sense if you want to give back. Yeah. So you know how the situation in India is. You want to give back to the community. You want to make them understand how it is to work in, actual industry. So it's about giving back when you cross a certain level of experience. For example, that guy from Amazon, Vinay, he's quite established. He doesn't have to come to our meetings. Yeah. So the only reason he's coming back because he wants to give back to the community. So it's all up to people like Kirti Sharma, who is at the beginning stage of their career, of how they want to consume this knowledge and process the knowledge for their own careers.
So we also have Kirti here. Hi, Kirti. Can you turn on your camera? Yeah. So Kirti, we were just talking about why it's important to have, connect with, fellow developers. And fellow developers usually you can learn and grow. But let's say when you're having a gap of, let's say, 5 to 8 years between any two developers, it makes sense for a younger developer, right, to connect with him to get the expertise, right? So when you're connecting with someone that who holds that kind of experience, what do you think you would look out for, or what do you expect, or what's something that you would want out of that connection, out of that collaboration, or out of that guidance? Yeah.
Like I will, as I have experience of 1 or 1.5 of years. So the challenges that I will be facing, let's say about the high level designing of any. I mean, the first technical things that I will ask about him, like how actually we go process about a web application. Let's say if the other person is senior in the web development and web applications. And I will also talk about, like, after 3 or 4 years, I will be handling a team like 3 or 4 people, and I would like to ask him how to actually handle the team, and how to understand other people's perspective about the workflow. And it's not like that we work in an industry where everybody thinks different, like we have a problem, but the problem solution will be different, right? So these kind of situation I will ask from him, like the handling the team, and about how should I go for the end to end in development of the project.
Yeah. So right now, if you want to ask anything for Tejas as of now, because of the experience and expertise that he hold, right, what would that be? Because he's running a consulting company of his own, and he's also like mentoring people around in the community, and he also has like 16 years of experience. So if we already have someone like this in the community, right? So if there's any 2 to 3 stuff that you want to ask, what would that be?
Like, first thing I would like to ask, uh, I basically work as a full stack developer, but sometimes I think like I'm neither good at Node, neither good at React. Sometimes I just can't catch up on the things, and the things keep changing. So how should I look into this, and about learning to learn new things. That's the thing I need to ask from Tejas. I guess he can guide me on that.
I think you answered your own question basically. So even if you feel that you are not a good front-end developer or a back-end developer, you are in the process to learn. Yeah, nobody is expecting you to be a genius with a experience of 2 years or less. Yeah. So the people around you, maybe your leader or your manager, they understand that you are in the learning process. If they don't understand, it's a different thing, but they should be understanding that you are in a learning phase, and nobody is perfect. Even they are not perfect either in back end or front end. So it's a process that we need to enjoy. And what I've learned in all these years is there's no project which remains undelivered. Every project gets delivered by hook or crook. Yeah.
Yeah.
So delivering a project is not your job. It's the job of delivery manager. Your job is to code. You have a task. You need to complete that task in terms of development, back end, front end, whatever. Don't worry about if the project will meet the ultimate timeline or not. That is your manager to figure out. If he feels that it is not getting delivered, he'll get few additional people to contribute and then he'll make it happen. So it's not your job to deliver the project. Your job is to deliver the task that you are being given. So just stick to that and enjoy the process.
Yeah. And there's one more thing, like, let's say right now I am like bit of pressure, or and I am, let's say I want to create some of the small projects, like for enhancing my skill. Right, currently I am working in an MNC, and as you said that they are small tasks they provide you. We don't have to go in the depth of the code of how the actually whole code flow and project work. But if we take another project from somewhere else, so in that case we need to start from scratch and go till the finish line. So in that case, how should we proceed? Like, is it the good time to do your own personal projects, or I should only focus on the company projects?
So it depends on your bandwidth. If you have bandwidth to do some extra stuff, do it. If you don't have time or bandwidth, if you get too tired after your regular job, don't do it. Don't stress yourself. After a certain amount of time, let's say 7 to 8 hours, you're not productive enough. So after doing, let's say 10 hours in the office, again, you want to sit on your own personal project, it is very hard to, concentrate. So don't stress yourself. Rather, what you need to do is increase your productivity. So whatever 7, 8, 9 hours you are giving to the company, you try to be more productive so that you finish your task not in 9 hours, but in 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. And then rest of the time you can dedicate to learning. But yeah, I think there's no point in stressing out beyond, office hours if you are too tired.
Yeah. Tejas, is it like really easy because most of us, have the same problem, right? Like we pick up a task, even though if it is dedicated task for, let's say, half an hour, it'll just take half an hour. But if working remotely, right, is something that has been prevalent in the industry right now. And that work kind of, has a lot of, it gets elongates a lot, and then it takes, 1.5 or 2 hours, something around that. So how could one like make sure that it is actually concise and you still have time beyond your job to take out the time for learning and everything else? Because at the end of the day, what I've seen, even from the personal experiences, you'd be working, and then at the end of the day, you are really feeling fatigue and having a burnout at the end of the day, and you don't have any energy to have invest into something more than the job, invest in your learning part, right? So, what's your take on it? Like, is it really common, or is it uncommon nowadays, or is it up to a person? Because most of us, what I've heard is, are having the same problem, and you're working, and then at the end of the day you're burned out and you don't have any more mental energy to like stay up for the learning part, right? For the upskilling. So what would your take on that be?
Judge your situation, how desperate you are to, learn. If you are in a job hunting situation, that means you are quite desperate, and then you'll have to do something to, find some extra time in your day. Either you push out some task from your office and then, take take that time for learning, or I've seen people going extreme, like they take 1 month off from the company and then they do preparations for tech interviews or DSA or whatever. So it depends on how desperate you are. If you're not desperate, just take it easy. There's no point stressing. See, it's we are not running a sprint of 100 meters. We are running a marathon. Yeah, you guys are very young, probably between 20 and 25, and you'll end up working till 60, 65. Yeah, so it's a marathon. Don't burn out. Yeah, if you burn out, then many people kind of get scared of IT industry. They run away. They say that, no, this industry is not for me. I'll start my own shop and sell candies or whatever. So this all is a symptom of burnout. So just understand it's a marathon. Just take it step by step. Not try to get in directly. Like after 2 years, you'll not end up in Facebook or Amazon that easily. So just understand those points.
I think we also have Shahrukh. Hi, Shahrukh. Is this the first time you're joining us?
Yeah, hi.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, previously the meeting is on weekly Friday, na? So that's why I'm not able to join. We have
Yeah.
weekly Scrum on Friday from 6:30.
Yeah. So usually we'll be running out poll between Thursday and Friday, and most of the people are voting it out as the day that we choose to have a community catch up, right? So yeah, can you please introduce us to yourself and let us know like the basic where you're from, what do you do, which company you're working, and all that.
Actually, I'm a React.js developer. I have around 2 years of experience, and I'm working in a startup, Shriram Technologies. It is located in New Delhi, and it is permanent remote. So I'm working from home,
Okay.
and
So
I'm also teaching somewhere in my local area for front-end technologies. So around 200 of students are there, and I also started from last 2 days an online session for the same technology.
Oh, that's amazing. So you also teach besides the
Yeah,
work and all. So you teach around the front end technologies.
yes.
Okay.
HTML,
How
CSS,
long have you been
JavaScript, and
working
React,
JavaScript?
and React.js.
Okay, okay. How long have you been working, Shahrukh?
Uh, in front end, I'm working from last 2 years, around 2 years.
And like for overall, like since you've graduated and all of that.
Yeah, it total 2 years of experience after
Oh,
that.
that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So Shahrukh, I just want to understand your motivation of, being a part of the community or something like that. So what's something that you look out for when you're a part of a community? Is it the learning? Is it the growth? Is it the opportunities that you put in while for yourself? Or do you have any other motivation as a developer? But because now that you've been working as a remote, right? Learning and interaction part kind of gets behind when you're working remotely. And that too, as a developer, how is it going out for you? What are the challenges that you think you're facing as of now?
As of now, I feel like कि एज अ जूनियर डेवलपर जो होते हैं उन लोगों को इतनी सारी चीज़ें पता नहीं होती है. एज अ फ्रंट एंड में बताओगे सो फ्रंट एंड में बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती है, जैसे परफॉर्मेंस होता है एप्लीकेशन का, कि रिएक्ट जेएस को लोग समझते हैं कि बहुत फास्ट है, बट एट द सेम टाइम वो स्लो भी है अगर उसमें चीज़ें उस तरह से बिल्ड ना की जाए तो. सो ये चीज़ें मैंने यहाँ पे आके स्टार्टअप में सारी चीज़ें सीखने मिलती है. एमएनसीज में अगर करियर स्टार्ट करो स्टार्ट से तो वो सारी चीज़ें सीखने नहीं मिलती. वहाँ जस्ट एक टास्क मिल जाता है एंड you have to go through with that task complete and just. but स्टार्टअप में एक सिंगल पर्सन एज अ टीम वर्क करता है, क्योंकि पूरा प्रोजेक्ट का लोड उस पर होता है, एज अ टीम वर्क करना पड़ता है उसको अकेले को. तो ये सारी चीज़ें वो खुद ही सीख लेता है, फिर कहीं से जाके सीख लेता है. सो ये कम्युनिटी मैंने इसलिए ज्वाइन की कि मुझे यहाँ पे ऐसा फील हुआ कि कुछ चीज़ें मेरे को सीखने मिलेंगी यहाँ पे एज अ फ्रंट एंड डेवलपर, एज अ बैक एंड. और मैंने यहाँ पे देखा कि यहाँ पे लर्निंग पोर्टल्स भी है, जैसे रिएक्ट जेएस का देखा मैंने नेटिव का. सो मुझे नेटिव में भी इंटरेस्ट है. सो मैंने देखा कि यहाँ पे लर्निंग पर्सपेक्टिव से बहुत सारी चीज़ें दिख रही है और मुझे लोगों से कांटेक्ट करने में अच्छा लगता है कि चीज़ें सीखने मिलती है. अगर हम न्यू पीपल से मिलते हैं तो न्यू चीज़ें हमको सीखने मिलती है लाइफ में, और वो ये न्यू चीज़ें सीखो तो वही ग्रोथ होता है एक्चुअल में. किसी से कुछ ऐसे सीखने मिल जाता है कि हम वही लाइफ में आगे लेके चले जाते हैं. So that's why I joined this community.
Yeah, that's actually true, and that's really true. You always have that space, that void where you could fill up with your learnings. You can, upskill it and get another stage of professional journey, right? So yeah. So I'll just give you a glimpse of what is this, Shahrukh. So we always have community catch up once in a week. That's on Thursday or Friday. That depends on how many people are interested in having on which particular date, right? So what we do is we have a particular topic that we talk about. We have been talking about the interview experiences. We talked about JavaScript versus Java. We talked about like best coding practices, and all the topic that we choose is actually inclined towards the tech centric, right? And what makes it interesting is, first of all, you get to network with fellow developers in the community. And the second one, people holding different experiences and different perspective is what makes the discussions more interesting, because you can hear the take of a person who's having 1 year of experience till the person who's having 15, 16, 17 years of experience, right? And that widely varies from the perspective and experience. You can give your learning, you can take your learning, you can connect with people over here, right? I've also seen people like connecting over here, and Tejas also helps people around. He also mentors one of the person called Dinesh around React, and he helps around the resources. There are other people who helps around. So this is the best possible way for you to connect, interact, and learn from others. So today's topic that we chose is from Tejas itself, and that's on the techniques of code review, right? So let's start from him. And Tejas has been working for 16 years, and he's in Sydney right now, and he runs a consulting firm himself. He's a web developer, right, Tejas? And it is, out of all the work that you have done from starting your job to now running a team for yourself, right? So techniques of code review. So have you ever come across where you've been falling back on the code review or major loopholes over there, and what are the techniques that you have discovered that you learn for yourself and also you teach your team as well? So what would that be?
So coding review in the sense when we approve PRs or like that,
Yes.
Yeah.
GitHub PR से. So हम लोगों का सीन ये है यहाँ पे कि जब मैं यहाँ पे आया था तो ऑलरेडी 2 लोग थे हम जो प्रोजेक्ट में काम करते थे. तो उसमें जो पहले PRs आते थे कि इंटर्न्स भी आना उसमें, और वो जैसे आ रही थी PR वो रेस कर लेते, जिसने PR रेस की वही अप्रूव कर ले रहा था शाम तक के. सो फिर हम लोगों ने ये चीज़ की कि PR डायरेक्टली अप्रूव नहीं की जाएंगी. पहले डिसाइड किए कि उसमें 2 लोग स्टेट में रहेंगे. एक फर्स्ट जो PR रेस करेगा, सेकंड वन वो रिव्यू करेगा, एंड जो थर्ड वन रहेगा वो फिर से रिव्यू करेगा, देन अप्रूव करेगा. तो उसमें हम लोग फॉलो करते हैं कि जैसे जावास्क्रिप्ट होता है उसमें वेरिएबल्स के नेम्स होते हैं. सो वेरिएबल्स के नेम जो दे रहे हैं कि उसको एक उसका मीनिंगफुल नेम देना चाहिए. एज अ फ्रेशर कोई आता है तो वो फ्रेशर में ABCD या टाइप में या कुछ भी नाम दे रहा है. एरे डिफाइन कर रहे हैं तो एरे 1 एरे 2 कर दे रहा है. सो हम लोगों ने वो चीज़ों को हटाए, फिर वहाँ की वेरिएबल्स के नेम भी वैसे नहीं होना चाहिए. देन जो भी नया फ्लो बन रहा है तो उसमें फ्लो का स्ट्रक्चर ऐसा होना चाहिए कि जो मेन फोल्डर रहेगा उसको ऐसा नाम दो कि वो अगर न्यू डेवलपर आए तो वो अंडरस्टैंड कर ले कि हाँ यस ये इस फ्लो के लिए फोल्डर बना हुआ है. देन उसके सब फोल्डर, उसके फाइल नेम, वो एक मीनिंगफुल चीज़ें कर दी हमने. जैसे कोई कंपोनेंट्स है तो वो कंपोनेंट का पर्टिकुलर नेम ऐसा रखो कि वो कंपोनेंट को डिफाइन कर दे, वो कि न्यू डेवलपर को या फ्रेशर को वो ना हो कि ढूंढना पड़ रहा है उसको या समझना पड़ रहा है या कंपोनेंट मिलने के बाद भी उसको समझ नहीं रहा है. देन जावा रिएक्ट में होता है कि प्रॉपर एक वो होता है, वे होता है अरेंज करने की चीज़ों को, कि पहले स्टेट से होते हैं, वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, फिर API को कैसे कॉल करना चाहिए, फिर जो यूज इफेक्ट मेथड होता है वो उसको कहाँ पे पुट करना चाहिए, लास्ट में करना चाहिए या मिडल में करना चाहिए, और जो कितना स्पेस या जैसे इंपोर्ट्स कर रहे हैं तो एटलीस्ट वहाँ पे एक लाइन का स्पेस होना चाहिए जब नया कंपोनेंट स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. तो ये चीज़ें हमने डेवलप की है कि एक अंडरस्टैंडेबल कोड होना चाहिए जो भी कर रहे हो, और जो भी फंक्शनैलिटी तुम बना रहे हो उसको उसके ऊपर थोड़ा छोटा सा एक कमेंट लिख दो कि ये फंक्शन इसके लिए है. तो कोई आएगा तो वो फौरन उसको पता चल जा रहा है कि वो इमीडिएटली अंडरस्टैंड कि दिस इज द यूज ऑफ दिस फंक्शन, दिस इज द यूज ऑफ दिस मेथड, दिस इज द यूज ऑफ दिस वेरिएबल, एंड हाउ कि ये कैसे वर्क कर रहा है. ये चीज़ें हमने बिल्ड की हमारे इसमें. तो यही सिंपल प्रोसेस होता है कि इससे सारी चीज़ें क्लियर रहती है. एंड फ्रेशर्स होते हैं कि कंसोल भी डाल देते हैं उसके अंदर के, फिर उससे प्रोजेक्ट में लोड आया तो जो अननेसेसरी चीज़ें होती है वो भी चले जाती है। हम लोगों ने ये किया कि पीआर तभी रिव्यू होंगे कि जिसमें एक भी कंसोल नहीं होगा। एक भी कंसोल अगर दिख रहा है तो पीआर रिव्यू नहीं होगी, बिकॉज वो कंसोल जाता है प्रोडक्शन में भी चला जाता है, तो वो सारी चीज़ें प्रॉब्लमेटिक हो जाती है और परफॉर्मेंस पे इशू देती है वो सारी चीज़ें। तो हम लोगों ने ये डिसाइड किया कि इस तरह से फॉलो किया, कुछ फॉर्मेट्स बनाए हुए हमने, कंपनी के इंटरनल फॉर्मेट्स है वो, तो वो फॉर्मेट हम फॉलो करते हैं।
Okay, so if you have like any 2, 3 key takeaways, major key takeaways, if you have to like, advice for someone who's starting it off or, having a problem during the code review or wasting a lot of time around that. So what would that be from your learning?
ड्यूरिंग द कोड रिव्यू हमने मतलब ऐसा किया है कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हम लोग करते ये थे कि फ्राइडे के दिन हम लोग सारे पीआरस रिव्यू करते थे एंड फ्राइडे को प्रोडक्शन में करते थे। देन हमने डिसाइड किया कि फ्राइडे को नहीं किया जाएंगी चीज़ें, अब वो चीज़ें होंगी थर्सडे के दिन ही, जो भी पीआर रिव्यूज़ होंगी वो थर्सडे तक की हो जाएंगी और फ्राइडे को सिर्फ रिलीज होगा। ये सारी हमने चीज़ें की है कि रिव्यूअर भी अपना सेपरेट टाइम निकाले उसमें थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि बिकॉज दिन भर तो कोई कोड नहीं करता है, वो सबको पता है कि वो तो डेवलपर्स का होता है कि वो अपना टाइम दिखा देते हैं कितना टाइम है, बट दिन भर कोई कोड नहीं करता है। सो फिर सबने ये डिसाइड किया कि 15 मिनट 20 मिनट सब सेपरेटली निकालो, जो रिव्यूअर्स है जो सीनियर्स है उसको रिव्यू करो तो टाइम भी वेस्ट नहीं होगा। और वो सारी चीज़ें हम लोग करते हैं कि टास्क वैसे अलाउड करते हैं, और जो कस्टमर्स होते हैं क्लाइंट्स होते हैं हम लोग उनको भी बता देते हैं, उनसे वीकली टास्क ले लेते हैं और उतना ही उनको शेड्यूल देते हैं कि इस वीक में इतना ही होगा। बिकॉज हम ये चाहते हैं कि प्रोडक्ट बने तो प्योर प्रोडक्ट बने, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो बगी प्रोडक्ट बन रहा है और वो वेबसाइट जाके उसमें एसीओ फ्रेंडली नहीं हो रही है, सारी चीज़ें उसके अंदर आ जा रही है, तो प्रोडक्ट बन के कोई फ़ायदा ही नहीं है कि क्लाइंट का भी उसके अंदर लॉस हो रहा है सारी चीज़ें। तो हम लोगों ने एक दिन सिर्फ इसके लिए फ्राइडे इसके लिए रख दिया कि इसमें पीआर रिव्यू होंगी और वो मर्ज होंगी फाइनल प्रोडक्शन में। तो यही थी चीज़ें, मतलब इसके अंदर टाइम तो थोड़ा जाता है बट एक सही चीज़ें हो जाती है उससे कि वो आगे चीज़ें नहीं होती है, जो रॉन्ग होना चाहिए वो नहीं होती है। जैसे मैं एक एमएनसी में था, मैं फर्स्ट मेरी कंपनी एचटीसी ग्लोबल सर्विसेज थी हैदराबाद में, तो ये सारी मैंने चीज़ें वहाँ पे नोटिस की थी कि वो उसके अंदर बहुत सीनियर्स थे, लेकिन मैंने जब फॉर्मेट देखा था वहाँ पे, कोड का फॉर्मेट देखा था, देन उनका रिव्यू करने का सिस्टम देखा था, तो वो उतना मेरे को वहाँ पे समझ में आया था कि एमएनसीज में उतना लेवल का नहीं होता है। ये लोग बस चलते हैं, मतलब काम चलो वाला काम हो जाता है कि भाई फटाफट करना है बस और अपना काम खत्म करके दे देना। बट स्टार्टअप का एक सीन वही होता है कि चीज़ें बहुत सारी सीखने को मिल जाती है स्टार्टअप में, ऐसी और ऐसे ही बिल्ड होती है चीज़ें, और करियर भी ऐसी ग्रोथ होता है छोटी छोटी चीज़ें सीख के। तो यही किया है हम लोगों ने कि एक फॉर्मेट में रखा है सारी चीज़ों को। तो थोड़ा टाइम जाता है कि ऐसा लगता है कि टाइम वेस्ट हो रहा है इन चीज़ों में, बट वो आगे चल के परफॉर्मेंस पे आती है सारी चीज़ें बाद में, कि क्यूए वगैरह बच जाती है। तो फिर बिकॉज अगर हम इस पे टाइम नहीं देंगे तो फिर क्यूए उस पर टाइम निकाल देंगे हमको कि भाई क्वालिटी चेक में तो देना ही है फिर टाइम, तो उससे बेटर है कि पहले ही टाइम दे दो।
Exactly. Yep. Well, that's a good point that you need to sit down and instead of like pushing the stuff at the end of the day, get it before done and get the things done in the very first hand, right? So, what's your take on the same, Tejas? So, what's your techniques on the code review that will help people save time, that will help developers be a little more productive, and that will help projects move faster and get the work done little more efficiently.
I think the most important thing is to set the rules of coding. So for your team, you can have a published document somewhere on Confluence or your internal company website, or even a Word document of what are your coding standards. For example, like Shahrukh said, no console logs. So that's a rule. Yeah. So put it in the document, no console log. Then you can be like, if there's a new function, add a one line comment that this function is doing this stuff. So that becomes your rule. So document a set of rules, give that set of rules to all the developers. Make sure that they read those rules so that when they raise a PR, they actually do kind of a checklist themselves that, okay, I've done all these things before I check in my code, before I give it to Shahrukh for review. So that kind of saves a lot of work from reviewer. Yeah. But humans, they usually forget things, or there might be a few things they miss. So for that, automation is there. So automate your check-ins with ESLint or any tool that you prefer. So that means that if there is a console log and you try to push, it will not let you push. It will block your push. It will not even go into a reviewer stage. So use all those automations. That kind of serves as another filter. So now you have done two things. You have set the rules. You want developers to follow the rules. That takes care of a lot of hassles. Number two, you have set the automation that if there is a human error and somebody by mistake leaves a console log, the automation tool like ESLint, it will catch that error and prevent the check-in. Now, even after doing these two things, it is quite possible that a person can check in a code which is not non-performing. So no ESLint or any tool is going to catch that. So then comes the responsibility of the reviewer. So now the reviewer needs to be skilled enough to catch those kind of errors in the code, see if the code is performing pretty well or it is having any latency issues, all the stuff. So for reviewers, there should be another set of rules. Yeah. For example, make sure that the code is performant, or make sure that the functions are having correct variable names. So even if the variable names are ABC or they are something meaningful, no ESLint is going to catch that. It has to be caught by a reviewer. So there has to be a set of rules for the reviewers as well. So typically what happens is in a company or in a team, you will have a dedicated team of reviewers. Not everyone is a reviewer. Okay. You cannot make an intern or a fresher, as a reviewer. So there will be a handful of reviewers, maybe 2 to 3 in a team. They should stick to those rules. Okay. And number 4 is the reviewers need to understand that no two people code same. If they are expecting, the way I code is the same way that other person should code, and then I should see the same format, it is never going to happen. So the reviewer has to be flexible enough to understand that there might be a few new things coming up from different people, and the reviewer should be able to absorb them instead of pushing back. So if you have those rules set, don't be fussed out about too many camel casing or whatever. I really hate that. Just approve that pull request and talk to that guy informally, over a cup of coffee or at the lunch table, that hey, you know what, I felt that in your code you could have done this better. Yeah, I'm not saying you have done it wrong because I approved your PR, but it could have been done this way. What do you think? And then he can explain himself. Yeah. So it is also important to connect with your team informally to get them to a same level of what you are expecting. So and it's a process. Yeah, it is not going to I have set the rules, it will start happening from day one. No, a team has to come into the tempo, and then all that informal sessions with the team, and then वो बोलते हैं ना, they have to be at the same wavelength. So to match that wavelength, it takes a couple of months for a team.
Yeah.
So after a certain time, that whole PR process or the review process becomes really smooth if you are keen to follow these points. So yeah, it's a good thing that people like Shahrukh, they do all their PR reviews on a Thursday, which is a productivity kind of a hack. But if let's say a PR is stuck and then my code is dependent on that PR, then it makes sense that I review that PR first and unblock a certain person so that the team becomes more productive.
Yeah. So any 2 to 3 key learnings from your journey of review and getting hands-on with that. If you have to advise any team or any company or any fellow developer, right, over the code review. So a quick 2 to 3 learnings, what would that be?
Yeah, number 1 learning is I've seen people leaving or resigning their job because the reviewers were bad. So I've seen the reviewers who are very picky about the variable names, and function being only 8 lines and not even 9 lines. So all those things, I mean, after a certain point, the other teammates get pissed off and they leave. Yeah, they either find a new team in the same company or they leave the company, go to other organization. So don't be that picky. That's the number one learning. Number two is now since last 2 years, everyone has gone remote. So it's very hard to connect, with other people in a humanly way. So if you are not connected to that person informally and you start giving review comments left and right, the other person is going to get pissed off. So you need to understand that. So instead of putting the comments left or right, just talk to him. Get into a call, do a peer review instead of a PR review. So just share the screen, go through the code, and then discuss it out, basically. And that becomes a smoother process, rather than just hitting the comments left and right.
Yeah. I think Shahrukh has to leave. Thank you so much, Shahrukh, for joining
Yeah.
in. I hope to
Thank
see
you
you
so
in the
much.
next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Shahrukh.
Tejas. Yeah.
Thank you, Shahrukh. Yeah. Yeah, Kirti. So, have you actually started going through the process of the code review, Kirti, and how is it going in your organization as of now? And what's something that you're facing a problem, or do you think there's a lot of it for you to learn from it, or what's your take on the code review from your experience?
So I don't actually usually, do the code review, but my code will get reviewed by my tech lead. So the learnings that I already had, like Tejas has really, very well speak about those, like automating the things. Like currently, that the project that I'm working, they use that they already told us that use these whenever you make a branch, there will be that like this like let's say the number of the ticket, so you will make the branch and the description with that. And now whenever you do the commit, you will write it down like that, if it's a feature or it is a fix, like fixing the bug, or it is a feature. So these are like they have standardized the process. And we use like linting the whole code and the formatting, all those. So all these things like have helped us, like previously in my previous project, what was happening, like whenever we do console.logs, but sometimes sometimes it happens that we usually forgot to remove that line. And we have already let's say there is a way that where we can write down that you can ignore these console logs. So some of the console logs maybe but we need to remove all those. So linting helps us in that one, that whenever we do make a PR, so we will remove all these unwanted comments as well as console logs. And after the review process also, like when naming convention, formatting and linting, after that they will be like the performance basis. Let's say if the code can be optimized more or not. Like let's say if we are doing some query from the database, and basically it needs to be done like it's not performance, so we do like, let's say our code reviewer will tell us that use some kind of Elasticsearch or something like that, so it will help us improve our own performance, and we in that process we will learn from it. So that is my experience, like all these the points that I have usually use in my projects and whenever I get a review from my PR.
Yeah, yeah. So any major learning that you had, since the beginning of your, professional journey, like during this code review, what's something that you think that you've been missing out and you got to know it later and then you've been working out on it, or something that is making your code um, a little behind over that, and something that you're actually finding a major setback from your review of the code? What would that be?
So like at first when we write code, like the main thing was like when I was starting out, like I thought that the only thing that matters that running the particular feature is the important. But I never thought that okay, it should be written like this, or I should avoid the thing that let's say there is some function I have written. It can be I didn't know think about the like it can be optimized more or not. And clean code, writing the clean code is very important when let's say if I'm working and another person is trying to work on that one function as well. But if I don't write code cleanly and then he get confused that what is actually written. When I was in the internship, I was working as a front-end developer and it was my first time. So I usually tend to do these mistakes, but then hopefully my team was great and they helped me out in those things that, right, like they were usually connect to me on every day, once in a week. They were, we were having discussion that, okay, this can be done in this way as well. You can try it out by yourself. And so that's how like I grow, like whenever you working in a team and other person is giving a feedback, it's important to note down. It's not take it on a hurt and no, I did that, but you know but don't get don't lose your self-confidence at that time, because when you are starting out there will be multiple things that you don't know, but your team members will help you out in that way. And always take feedback in a positive manner. So if you do that, the code reviews are very helpful in that.
Yeah. That's pretty much. So I think that's a really good take from someone who's just starting it off. And obviously you need to take a constructive feedback instead of just like getting too negative about it. Ki how could someone just point out this point out the voids or point out the bad stuff out of my code, right? So that's really good. And I think that mindset will really help one person to learn from constructively and enable them to work on something that they're lagging behind, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much for today's discussion, guys. I think we'll have it one more time over the code review because this is really a good topic, and I would love to have more people around the same topic again. And Kirti, so before leaving, I just have quick questions for you. So how long have you been part of this community?
Since last week.
Okay, since last week. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I just wanted like to ask few questions around key. What have you learned from the community so far, and how did it help you? So it's just been a week. I know it's too soon to ask you about your take and your experience, but something that you would like to say that what's your learning and what do you learn out of it?
So first, like it's great to interact with you guys every Thursday or Friday. So it's great to learn things from like teachers who has like 16 years of experience, and he told about like how code reviews will get done and how can we be productive. So all this session will help me in a longer run as well. Like the reason was like in the beginning of the session, I told me that I told you that I'm feeling like I'm not getting hold of Node, neither React. So I thought that I will get some fellow developers and I will ask about my doubts when we read the documentations and whatever the doubts we have. So it's great to discuss the things and talk it out. And yeah, like that's why the reason why I joined this community was like interacting with these fellow developers who has more experience, and also whatever I have learned from my experience, I can share it to you guys as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think from that side, we are really open to, every experience, because every experience counts and that matters, right? Irrespective of which number you hold in terms of experience. So Kirti, the next question is if you could describe Rebase in one word, what would it be?
Okay, I would say that it's a like awesome developers and with Hafsa. Okay, so because you are awesome. Like when I talk to to you and Tejas. I mean, it's my second session with you guys, and Tejas, like the way Tejas explain and the way you ask, the both are like, yeah, you understand our problems whenever we do work. So the way Tejas explain is, it's really, a very smooth way of explaining. So I really like it.
Yeah, and we are glad to have someone like you who is, intrigued of listening to it, right? Like even people need to have that consistent zeal of learning. So that's something that I usually personally appreciate a lot from people. So I think that's what makes people like interesting enough to work with, talk to, or collaborate with, right? Okay, so last question: if you were not the part of a community, what would you think you would be missing?
Yeah, I would be missing these interactions session on Thursday or Friday. Like at first we thought that we don't have time, but then we will make time for these interactions. And I would not have been with, like, I have discussion with other developers in the community. We like, maybe we have some meetups in Delhi, NCR as well. So I can meet new people, right? I am a bit of introvert in that case, but then I got to know new people and we'll discuss about it. And I hope that other than just being the developers, we can be friends. We can meet up in the, whenever place we visit near future.
Yep, that's definitely there. And I think we do have Vinay. Hi, Vinay.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi. So Vinay, today in this topic, we've been discussing about techniques of code reviews, or any how's your journey from being a code review to you being a code reviewer has been, and what's the ups and downs, and what's your takes, your challenges, or your exploring your stuff that you've explored or discovered into the new techniques of coding review. And because usually that really takes a lot of time, and how would you suggest that one could actually work on these stuff that can help you deliver a quality code? So what's something from your side?
Mhm. So my experience with code reviews has been really good. Whenever my code gets reviewed by someone, there is always something new to learn. So I think it's a very good practice without which a person should not code. Like if someone is not part of a company and is working on like side project, maybe try find some friends, join a community, and ask the people to review your code so that you get a better idea what's going good, what's going wrong, what are the learning curves which are required to be added. And one of the most key things is one should be always polite during the code reviews. Sometimes there is disagreement between different developers. So one should be extremely polite in that case and try to understand the other's perspective. Sometimes what happens is like people go into a very long debate and they are into like go into like minutes, hours and hours into like debating what should be the correct and what should not be the correct way. I think the best of both worlds should be taken into consideration so that there are no debates as such. And yeah, make sure to have your code reviewed by the senior folks and the folks which are at your level. And if you are as an intern, you're really new to the industry, maybe try reviewing code, not reviewing, but going to the going through the code which is raised for reviews by the senior folks, because you get to learn a lot of new things, even if you don't really have to review the code. And other thing is like once you get a mistake pointed out in a code review, ensure like not to repeat that again, and you learn it thoroughly, religiously, so that the same mistake doesn't happen twice. Because you will end up if you keep on repeating the same mistakes, it's gonna waste a lot of time for people to review your code. And keep your code consistent, make it reusable, follow good naming conventions, try to break down your code into smaller pieces of reusable chunks as functions, which can be used throughout. Yeah, so these are a couple of things which I usually take into consideration. And yeah, try to get a code reviewed by as many people as possible so that you get a very wide variety of ideas what can be improved or not. And also ensure to follow good coding practices. Like there are some linters Linter is something which is basically used to format your code based on how your entire company's project has been written, like the coding style, the length of the code base, or the length of the file in which you have code written, or a lot of things. So ensure like whenever you raise code reviews, it goes through a linter which formats your code according to the company's coding guidelines and stuff. So these are a couple of things which really help down the way.
Okay. So do you think documentation in this part really helps, Vinay, or what's the major mistake that you've seen people doing in this process?
So I think documentation really helps. One of the most common mistake people do is like using old deprecated methods of libraries and framework which are no longer being used, or they are not good for production use cases. So one should always be up to date with the latest documentation or the version of the language or the library they are using. So this is a really key aspect in having good code reviews.
Yep. So any major mistake that you have seen like yourself doing in this process, like since the time you started your journey until now, and what's the major stuff that you have worked on, which you have been like doing for a while and you didn't know and you kind of worked on it. So what would that be?
A couple of things in React. So React.js provides a lot of optimizations technique, which should not be overused. So I used to overuse them a lot. And the amount of optimization they provide usually then bottlenecks your application, because there are a lot of checks going on when your React.js application needs to be optimized. So I used to overuse those things, and then through various code reviews, I got to understand that those things should not be overused a lot. And so keep them to the minimal. Usually in software industry, there's a thing which is like, don't just over engineer things. Don't try to optimize something unless there is an issue you are facing, unless you're seeing with your naked eyes that yes, you're clicking on a button and it's taking a lot of time to do and perform some things. And also there are a couple of third-party libraries, such as a very popular one is Lodash, and there is Moment.js. These libraries should be avoided at all costs because they don't really add much of the value. So earlier I used to use them a lot, but as I kept on progressing through code reviews, getting experience, so I kept on identifying some libraries which are no longer should be suggestible to be used. And I also suggest other folks to remove from their code reviews as well. So this keeps the software project really lightweight, because you don't really include third-party frameworks and libraries which are really unnecessary. And this just keep on adding up.
Yeah.
Another great thing is like, whenever a person is working on a code review, a person should ensure to update the documentation of the project they're working on. Sometimes we keep adding new features or fixing bugs. We tend to miss out on the documentation of the project we are working on. Let's say I change something and a new engineer joins in and he reads the documentation and it's not up to date with respect to what changes I had made in the past. So documentation should also be maintained. A change log, which is basically a log of whatever the changes are done with each code review raised. So a change log maintenance could also be good, and documentation should also be good.
Yeah. So that's pretty much from the code review part, and I think that's really important, right? Because I've heard the same point over and over again, but that most of us miss out on documenting, be it in the code reviews or any coding practices. I think documentation has been one of our major source of major point in most of our discussions, right? From the interview process to coding practices, I think this was something that I've been hearing it over and over again. And I think obviously it takes a lot of work for people to just go and document around it and just have a introspection of the work that you are doing. But I think that when you start working around it, that's something that will help you in the longer run. And also will help you like.
Sorry, just a question for Vinay. So I heard you saying, not using Moment. So is there any other alternative library that you're using?
Yes, we did used to use, but I don't recall it much. But if you want, I can ping you.
Okay. So can can I suggest you having a look at a library called Date-FNS? It's a
Yes,
really light.
Date-FNS, if I recall, this was the
Yeah,
library which I used maybe. But
yeah,
most of my use cases are really solved by Vanilla JS without using any third-party library. I barely use any third-party library for date manipulations because these libraries are big and they don't have like tree shaking. So the amount of bundle you're using from these libraries really add up to
yeah,
your application.
definitely.
So unless there is something really niche, really complex thing, I avoid using, because these days, if you check up the documentation of vanilla JavaScript, it has really become really great. So most of the stuff can be done without using any sort of third-party libraries, as far as I
Cool.
feel.
Cool. I've been using Date-FNS for past 6 months. It's really lightweight and it supports tree shaking. And in a couple of my projects, there are really complex date-related things, be it like calculating number of dates since a particular date, and then how much time in the future, and is it like X days in the future or Y days in the past, all those things. So yeah, Date-FNS served me quite well. Yeah.
So, so guys, do you have, if you're having any resources or tools like this that will help you review the code? I know Tejas and Vinay are someone who, actively share, and they're also one of our top contributors. And Kirti, if you come across something like that, any resources, do feel free to share in the community and share it with just all it takes is huge. All it takes for you to is just go and copy paste a blog or anything that you came across, any tool, any library, or any resource that you came across, right? So that would help other people to have a quick review, or help them solve some challenge that they're facing.
Yep.
So before we end this session, guys, Vinay, I have a few questions for you. So this is a quick testimonials from our community members of how the community of Rebase has been and what's your experience around it. So, so the first question is: what have you learned from the community, and how did it help you? So your learnings and your part of learnings that actually help you in the community.
So my learnings would be from a couple of webinars which I've attended. There was an offline webinar in Chandigarh, which I was part of. So I learned a couple of things from there. And there was a really interesting webinar which you conducted with a person named Ashima Ahuja. And that was an online meetup webinar. So she's based in, I think, in Europe.
Amsterdam, I guess.
Yeah, Amsterdam. So it was on the front end system design. And I really loved it. And I was able to crack, I guess, I was able to crack 2 companies based on that video alone. So that was a really helpful resource for me. So from then on, I gained traction. Then I started watching more and more webinars, which you guys have been, arranging.
So if you can describe Rebase in one word, what would that be?
Engineering at best. Engineering at best, like this. Yeah, that would be one word I can think of right now.
Okay. So if you were not a part of this community, what would you think you would be missing? And someone who's not the part of the community, what you think they would be missing out?
So if I was not part of the community, I would be missing on the webinars which you have on weekends or the online webinars, and connecting with new people on the weekly meetups. So that would be one thing I would miss on.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much. And so if you guys have any, let's say, something that you look forward to in, or something that you want us to implement, what would that be? Tejas, Vinay, Kirti. This is just an open-ended question.
I had a couple of questions for you, Hafsa, as a testimonial, if you allow me.
Sure.
So the first question would be, what motivates you to bring almost like 1,500 people you already gathered into Rebase, and then what motivates you to keep on going and get as many people associated?
As possible. Okay. So the very first thing that we wanted to have a community at the first place is looking at the upskillment of the developer, right? What Recro does is completely different, and
No,
then we
don't
are
answer me as a Recro. Answer me as a Hafsa.
yeah, as a community builder, like why am I doing this?
Yeah, your personal goals and achievements, I would say.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. So
So
my personal goal in it.
So what personal goal you're trying to achieve when you build this community and you want it to build more? So I want an answer from Hafsa, not as a Recro employee.
Okay. Okay, personally, community building has taught me a lot of stuff, and that too, building a developers community has been a challenge for me because developers are little, let's say, I don't know if antisocial is a big word to say, but not as interactive, right? And first
Boring
of all,
people.
building a community for them. Sorry.
Boring people.
No, definitely not boring pages. And I've seen.
Wait. This is the first time I have seen Binay smiling.
Yeah, definitely not boring, but they are an challenging individual to make them talk and make them interact over there, right? So personally, what I've learned in building a community for developers is to look into the problems, what you guys are facing, look into how I could help you build a platform where you can come over and over again, you can find value. So providing value is something that I think I've learned over time, that it's not some other resources or other amenities that you could attract people to. So if you provide value, if you provide any help, like Vinay said that he got something out of that webinar, which I really felt happy, because I bring in the speakers, I bring in all the resources to get that webinar live, get the speakers to do all of that stuff. So even one person, if he says that, that really helped me, so over there, I really feel fulfilled that, at least all of that hard work paid off. And when you hear people like Kirti saying you're getting to connect with people like Tejas or Vinay, so you really find a lot of you sit back and think, there's one good thing that is happening, and even if one person is finding value, right? So that's something that I'm looking out for, providing value for the people to come over again and connect and upskill in irrespective of which domain they're from.
Okay, so the next question is, most of our sessions are getting quite technical. For example, today me and Vinay, we were trying to explain a few things very technical, like coding rules and coding optimization thing. So does that make you feel out of place? Because I know you are a non-technical person, you are more into community building. So do you sometimes feel out of place when you are into these meetups?
I don't feel out of place. I do, get to hear a lot of stuff, which I go back again, Google down on the stuff, right? So that's how it started. So when I started working with developers as such, I don't even know what's front and back end or full stack. So at that time, I would obviously feel out of place. But right now, I came to know a lot of stuff. Like we've talked about various topics, from interview to languages, frameworks, and that will help me to understand, because half of my learning is just happening with you guys, and I'm just like getting to learn and listen to a lot of stuff from the interview, from the experience perspective, and also from the perception perspective. So I don't feel out of place. I feel like there's something more I need to understand, and something more. So once you understand your audience, that's when you understand what you could provide them to build up from there, right? So that's pretty much.
Yep. And the next one is, are you also building a backup for yourself within Recro? Because before you, there was another lady, I forgot her name.
Rashmi.
No, not before Rashmi. There was another lady, I forgot her name. She was also trying to build the community, and then
Radhika?
No, not Radhika. Before Radhika.
In this community itself?
There was no Discord server at that time. It was only on LinkedIn. But I forgot. Yeah, so she was trying to build. She hosted a few events and then she went away, and then that kind of stopped the interaction for a long time before you guys came in. So are you trying to create a backup for yourself so that if you leave or if you move into some other profile within Recro, you have someone to cater for these kind of stuff?
Okay. So there's one thing that me and my team has been looking out for, right? When you're building a community, I don't want, personally, I don't want a community to run because of one person. And that was the main reason why we are more focusing on people-centric community. We did have an open community in the Slack, and we had to run it. But we want the only reason that we wanted to have a closed community is because when you have engaging folks, they will run the community for yourself, right? And it should not be constrained just because if one person left or one person is not there, the things have stopped and the conversation has stopped. So mostly replacement for me, obviously everyone would get out after one point, but for a community right now, what I'm aiming for is to run by itself, run by its own people, where you guys are only creating and interacting and finding each other for building the project. So all the communities, the greatest communities of all I've known are just run by people and not by the individuals. So I don't think I'm doing any great part over here. I just want people in the community like you to be in the community itself. So yeah.
And what is the part that you hate about being a community leader at the moment?
Okay. People don't engage as much as we expect them to. They're like, let's say, every community has, or every group has. Okay, let's say every group project has 1 or 2 person who does all the project, and other people are just take the credit or just like a dead weight or something. So that's the stuff that that we are trying to solve over here. And if people are more interactive about their own if people are more interactive about what their own needs, what they want, I think that will help a lot for us to understand what you guys want and provide something more useful for you guys. So I think if people are more maybe developers are more interactive about what they want, maybe to have a conversation around or something. So that would help. That's something I don't really like. I mean, they're really interactive about it. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you so much, Tejas. I didn't expect this surprise test, but it was great.
Yeah, Vinay, if you keep on going like that, I will introduce you to my kids on 25th as a young Santa Claus.
Sorry, I missed your point. Repeat again.
So if you keep maintaining this look, then I will introduce you to my kids on 25th as young Santa Claus.
Oh,
yeah, that was great, guys, and I really look forward for this interactions like this. I don't know about you guys, but this really motivates me. Even if it's one person, I would obviously hope for more people to join in. That's what I've been working for, and this consistency is something that really motivates me. That's something I love in this community, right? And I really hope to see you in the next catch up soon. Katie, Tejas, and Vinay have been a consistent members, and I'm really thankful about it. I cannot thank enough of the resources that you guys are providing, the help that you guys are giving in the community. Right. And thank you so much once again. And please let me know if you have any other topics that you want to discuss in the next catch up.
Yep. So one of the topics I've already raised with you. So Vinay, what happened recently is a couple of guys are trying to reach out with specific questions on technology and job situation. But some people also ask me for jobs like, do you have any references or can you employ me or something like that? But I felt people are not job ready, either in terms of technology or in terms of communication skills or soft skills or whatever it is. So one thing lagging in Indian youth is being job ready. Yeah. So I think if we can do something about that, that will really help the community.
Yep. So I was thinking about the same thing. I think Tejas has, talked with me about the same thing. And I'm actually planning a career series for community members where that would help people to cater to this part where they're like lagging behind, and it'll acknowledge the part where people are looking for the jobs, but they are not job ready yet, right? Be it technical skills or soft skills, or they might a lot of stuff. There are a lot of stuff that makes people job ready. So we are actually planning a career series around it, and we'd love to know if you want to be part of it. And I think I'll try to launch it around like the first or second week of Jan, do the whole work behind it and see how it could provide value for people in the community.
So how do you
So I
want
think
us
that
to contribute to that series?
So for career series, I plan like 4 to 5 topics. Let's say what it takes for people to crack any interview. So you need to have good technical skills. Let's say soft skills. Your resume should be good, or let's say how to choose or pick a company, or we can choose 3 to 4 topics in which, if you think that you hold expertise in one particular topic, you can come over and we can have a AMA, a quick ask me anything, or any learnings from your side that we could get people along in the community. Because I think there are a lot of people who are looking out for the same thing. We can get the people along, and you can have a quick ask me anything kind of session around the same topic that you choose to talk about. So that's something
Cool.
we've been planning.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I'll connect with you if you want, if you're interested in it, Vinay, and anyone who's watching who's open for it. And I think we can plan it and get that executed and help acknowledge all this voice that we have been finding in the community as of now, or maybe in the developers community in general. Right. So that would be something we are actually looking forward for the New Year stuff. So that's something that we've been planning for a while. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you so
Sounds
much,
good.
guys. Thank you for joining in, and have a great weekend ahead. And thank you for contributing for these discussions and giving out your time. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, everyone.